really have to apologize to Dr. Zubairu for jumping your name here. So then we have to go directly to Dr. Zubairu Lawal Bambale on Beyond Binaries, Conversational Personhood and the Moral Status of Moral Enhanced AI. Bambale, you are welcome.
Thank you so much, Dr. Christie, for that introduction. I will be sharing my slides now. I hope it's up now. Please, is my slide visible?
Yes.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for especially earlier speakers and for that engagement, academic engagement. I am grateful to the host, that is the Conversational School of Philosophy and Transhumanist Africa, for providing this platform to share our thoughts, learn, relearn, and unlearn. The title of my presentation will slightly differ from what they read. I title it Conversational Personhood and the Moral Status of Morally Enhanced AI. My name is Zubair Lawal Bambale. I am from the Department of Philosophy, Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria of Northern Nigeria. This morning, I will want to defend the claim that advanced artificial intelligence systems can be recognized and can attain personhood from the perspective of African ethical thought. And I will go further to argue that the conversational account of personhood that Jonathan Ochimakonam proposed and defends provides us with the, so to speak, conceptual and theoretical platform to do just that. But I will also take the discussion further, drawing from the conversational account of personhood to also demonstrate that morally enhanced entities, including artificial intelligence entities that they recognize as persons, will not lose moral status on account of their being morally enhanced. And so coming back to my slides, I asked the question, why do we have to talk about AI personhood? Why does it matter? Now, this is in line with some of what have been said, especially the earlier speaker, that the fourth industrial revolution has brought about certain entities and machines that do exhibit and manifest certain capacities that up until now were conceived the prerogative of humans, that is, only humans can exhibit those capacities. And so they compel us to reconsider our long-held assumptions about certain things, including in our context, personhood, especially from the perspective of moral status, and especially also the boundaries of our ethical community. Who and what do we admit as person, as entities with moral status? To whom and for whom do we owe moral duty? Because personhood is basically or partly about admitting entities as a framework for admitting entities into the moral community. Now, Curiously, debates have already erupted, and with some arguing that, we may admit entities into the artificial intelligence entities into the moral community, and others have actually opposed that view. And of course, typically, the kinds of arguments and discourses in this regard from Western perspective differ from that of the African perspective. For example, given the antecedents, Western debates about AI personhood are basically concerned about whether or not, for example, an entity has intentionality, an entity has relationality, rationality, consciousness, ability for sentience, and the likes. And that's also the structure of the argument has always been typically around binaries. That is, either an entity is a person or an entity is not. This is slightly different from what the African discourse is about. The African discourse, especially from the point of view of the conversational system of thought, is usually about whether or not this entity it has a relationality, or is capable of relationality, or is capable of conversations, among other things. And so this system of thought resists these rigid categories and conceives of entity as both a person and not. That is the possibility of having an entity that is both a person and not necessarily either a person or not. Now, what does the conversational account of personhood state? The conversational account of personhood postulates that a person is a being in conversation, that is, an entity that is capable of reflective, creative, evaluative, critical, and revisional engagements with moral norms. Now, but that's not the end of it. That entity must be seen to be embodying or reflecting this critical engagement. And so everything about relationality, engagement, the social aspect is supposed to be a reflection of this prior intellectual activity. And so the function of this creativity, evaluative, and all that is that it enables the individual to act. It enables the individual to internalize norms, generate new responses with respect to those norms, question these existing standards, and reformulate them when they fail or become ineffective. And it is in the process of this that a person is, the action of an individual should be seen to be a reflective of this and not just a cultural endeavor, or that the society has asked that, postulates that should be the norm. Now, for some of us that are conversant with the conversational system of thoughts, for which the conversational account of personhood is a strand, it's guided by at least three related principles that are drawn or derived from African worldviews, belief system, cultural system, and ways of life of people and cultures south of the Sahara. And I think for want of time, I may not be able to read them out here. So my task, as I have done elsewhere, is to extend this conversational account of personhood to account for the attainment of personhood by AI and not just humans and other entities, so that we can strip the way in which we theorize and conceptualize of biological and anthropocentric contractions. And so the strategy I adopted in extending the conversational account of personhood, which by the way I will be referring to as the CAP, is one, I delve into the literature of African ethical thought, and I come out with the understanding that even traditional ideas of personhood consider non-biological variables as the forces that will drive personhood. And I argue that we can use that resources. And I'm glad that even yesterday, for example, Dr. Chogu has also alluded to the fact that there are other, away from biology, there are other driving ontological forces like vitality, like spirituality, and the like. And so, in the with the emergence of the fourth industrial revolution that brings about certain entities like artificial intelligence, we have the basis to actually account for a certain other ontological force, like technology as a driving force that drives person. And so the second argument I make or claim I make is that the principle of complementarity, that is one of the principles that guides the curve, allows us to consider technology as an ontological force that drives moral end or moral status. And the last one is that for the conversational account of personhood, it's actually the capacity for personhood and not just the instigating force of that capacity that is the central requirement. And so when we are confronted with an entity that is neither biological nor human, that manifests certain capacities, we have no reason to deny that personhood. And so I draw the conversation further to moral enhancement, what it is. I'm glad also that the two speakers have spoken about moral enhancement, and especially Amara. But of course, there is no gainsaying the fact that just like other concepts in philosophy, there is no one understanding of what moral enhancement entails. So here I bring about at least three conceptions of moral enhancement.
Please, speaker, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you. It can be used as an attempt to expectedly leave an agent with morally better motives than previously had. Now, the methods that are usually used for moral enhancement include traditional, pharmacological, and all that. And the objections that comes about that is the idea that moral enhancement is capable of taking away autonomy, freedom, authenticity, and all that. And so for moral enhancement of AI, what it might entail is that it can influence, restrict AI moral dispositions and behavior by design to only necessarily reason ethically. But my focus today is not even about the ethical justification of moral enhancement as is contained in the debates between Amara and Paemia and among others. My focus is on whether or not when we come across a morally enhanced entity, and by extension, AI entity, whether or not that process that entity has passed strips that entity from being considered as moral entity that is having moral status. And so I argue that personhood for the CAP is the state of possessing and manifesting capacity. And if
What's going on?
I think it's network problem.
Probably internet glitches.
Yeah.
So let's just give some seconds and see if he's going to come back.
And was about making his own thesis.
Yeah, that's the point. Okay, so let's exercise some seconds, please. Okay, so while we wait for him, I wouldn't want to jump to the next paper. If you have questions for Amara, please indicate while we wait for him to round up his paper. I wouldn't find it wise to call the next speaker, and we don't know how long it will take him to sign back. So please, if you have a question, use the reaction and raise the virtual hand up.
Okay, there is one at the chat box there. Maybe we should start with that one while waiting for Bambale.
Okay, so okay, here I could see the comment from Mali Adams. I'm not sure if that is the question, but let me see.
Yes.
So he said morality is an abstract concept. Not sure it is susceptible to technological enhancement. So what do you say?
The point is not to enhance morality itself. No, that is not the point about moral enhancement, but to enhance individuals. Excuse me, let me admit Bambale. But to enhance individuals to act in morally relevant ways. So here, if morality entails choosing right from wrong, then individuals could be technologically enhanced to act in virtuous ways. That is just what moral enhancement is saying. It's not saying that we should enhance morality itself, but to enhance us as individuals, as humans, to choose the good over the bad. That is just the bottom line. Thank you.
Okay, but Amara, don't you think we need to have a concept of morality, a kind of a realistic concept that applies for us to think of enhancing the individuals? So when we enhance the individuals to be morally, to act in moral, respective ways, that means by that enhancement, the enhancer or whatever that is being used to enhance, there must be a kind of a concept, an idea of what morality is. Okay, so I wouldn't say that morality is an abstract concept, but morality is contextual. So while enhancing the individuals, what role does this contextual understanding of morality play in the enhancement itself?
Yeah, I agree with you on the aspect of being morality being contextual, but it can as well be abstract. It is abstract because when you think about it as entailing choosing right from wrong, you find that is an abstract term that we can now contextualize in our different maybe cultures or localities. But I am not very excited about moral enhancement, especially the radical aspect of it. But the proponents of moral enhancement have suggested altruism, justice, as some examples of an aspect of morality we can actually enhance. So nobody would disagree, according to them, to when you enhance someone to have a good sense of justice. You won't disagree with that, no matter your culture, no matter where you are coming from. So others will say no, because we do not have this general sense of what morality entails, then I don't think we should be talking about moral enhancement. So the argument goes in both opposing ways and agreeing ways, but for me, morality is a kind of an abstract term that could also be contextualized within Africa, Europe, and rest of them. So it depends on where you are coming from and what you use morality to be. That is what I would say at this point.
Anyway, the argument can continue, but I saw our speaker back. I'm not sure he's there again.
Ademola, yeah, I'm here.
Okay, so
I have a question. Or do I ask my question?
No, I want to find out whether our previous speaker is back.
But I think he's here. Yeah, Bambale is back here.
So Bambale is back, and we use that to you know, keep a space. So hold your question. Let's finish with Bambale before his network gives problem again. So Bambale, please continue with your presentation. You have 3 minutes to round up, please.
Bambale, we can't hear you if you are talking. Can you unmute your microphone, please?
Okay. I hope I'm audible now. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Sorry, apologies for that. By just way of concluding, in the paper, I extended the conversational account of personhood to the emerging ethical issues of the moral enhancement of a person, including AI person. So I focus not on the ethical justification of moral enhancement, but on the implication it has for personhood from an African perspective, particularly its conversational strand. And I demonstrated that insofar as moral enhancement takes away freedom, it is incompatible with the cap. But to which capacity for choice and exercise of it is very crucial. I, however, then moved to show that a morally enhanced person, including artificial intelligence entity, will still have moral status insofar as context allows. Thank you so much for having me here.
Okay, thank you so much, Bambale. So please hold your question, write it somewhere so you don't forget, or you can write it on the chat. And thank you so much. That is a good follow-up to Amara's presentation. So please bear with me, keep your questions so we can have a bigger view of what the presentation is all about. Probably your question might be integrated in the next paper, or it might even sharpen your question. So just note it. And with that,